Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Lindemann, and this is my TED Talk. I've never done one of these before, so I hope it goes well. The topic I chose for this TED Talk is motivation. And the reason I chose the topic motivation is because I've always been interested in why people make certain decisions and what encourages them personally to make those decisions. I've also been looking into the effects of motivation and areas in real life, such as business and education, and the effect that it has on those areas. At the end, I would also like to share with you a current business model of mine that will hopefully introduce a new perspective of education towards our youth. So without further ado, I present motivation in cubic form. So first, I'd like to start off with a little about me. Like I said, my name is Ryan Lindemann. I am 20 years old, and I am a second-year undergraduate student at the University of Florida. My major is psychology, and I've always had a strong passion for solving puzzles and challenging myself, especially in the areas of math and science. I've always been a competitor. What I have right here with me is a Rubik's Cube, which I'll talk about more in a second. But I like to go to competitions for this, and I like to push myself to beat my times, not for the incentive that they give because they do offer a reward, but because I am intrinsically motivated to always push myself to do better than I did last time. So that's a little about me. Now here is a little about the Rubik's Cube that I'm holding. Alright, so this Rubik's Cube has 6 sides. Each one is a different color. And every side has 9 individual cubes that move independently of each other. Most of the cubes are shared by at least 2 sides, some are shared by 3. And altogether, there are approximately 43 quintillion combinations to this cube. So when you hand this to a little kid, and it's all mixed up, and you tell them there are 43 quintillion different combinations, how do you think they're going to react to that? And if they are motivated, why would they be motivated? Are they like me? Do they like being challenged? Or would you have to offer them an incentive in order to get them to actually be interested in this? And that's what we're going to talk about, is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. And we're going to try to answer the questions, why? Why would somebody have the motivation to take on such an enormous feat? And what causes them to want to try? And what are they personally getting out of this effort? That takes us into the motivators, and intrinsic motivators are something inside of us that encourages us to complete a task. For example, when I first solved a Rubik's Cube for the first time, I was so proud of myself because when I was a little kid, my mom got me one of these, and I ended up messing it up on accident. And ever since I messed it up, I was so upset with myself because I took something that looked so perfect and turned it into a scrambled mess. So ever since that, I've been trying to solve it. And when I finally did, I felt such a feeling of pride and self-accomplishment. And that is what intrinsic motivation is all about. You're benefiting yourself, and you're doing something to benefit yourself and what you feel on the inside. Whereas extrinsic motivation would be if my mom handed me a scrambled up Rubik's Cube that day and said, here's a crisp $20 bill, and if you can solve that Rubik's Cube, I will give you this $20 bill if you can solve it in under 5 minutes. Now that would be an extrinsic motivator. It's something external, usually in the form of monetary paper like this right here, a dollar bill, that provides us with something that we don't need to feel happy, but something that we want or desire, such as maybe you win an iPad mini, or something that you don't absolutely need, but something that motivates you to complete that task. And this can be commonly associated with incentive theories, which we will talk about right now. An incentive theory is a common belief that individuals are motivated either directly or indirectly by the reward that they are given. For example, you can see the runner on your screen. The further he finishes in the race, the more money he gets, and that motivates him to do better when he's racing. For example, a student may try extra hard on his final exam for psychology, knowing that if he gets an A in the class, his parents are going to give him $10. And that is how parents can motivate their kids with that extrinsic motivation or incentive, as you may call it. But in a little bit, we're going to talk about why that may not be so beneficial to our children. What's my motivation? Like I said earlier, I personally love being challenged. The reason I speed solve is because I like to beat my own times. I like to break personal bests, break records, see how quickly I can come up with a solution, and how few moves I can get the solution in. Um, I do that all for my self-benefit. I enjoy doing that. It makes me happy. However, not everybody has the same motivation. Different people are motivated in different ways for different activities. For an example, somebody may look at the Rubik's Cube like me and feel internally challenged. They may want to solve it. They may feel pride out of solving it. However, you might need that $100 or $20 incentive to get somebody even interested in solving a Rubik's Cube. And that's always fascinated me, how different people are kind of bribed by certain things. Um, Now, what effect does this have on education? Most schools teach in a way that encourages extrinsic motivation. For example, students only participate when there's something in it for them, uh, be it the grade money from their parents or getting into college. There's always something external that makes them want to participate in school. And I don't think that's good for kids because they're not really learning anything. They're doing it for the grade, not for themselves. Volunteering is usually very slim in classes nowadays, at least it was when I was in high school. In my ninth grade English class, we had to write poems, and our teacher told us to read them out to the class. And he was asking for volunteers. And nobody wanted to volunteer because nobody wanted to read their poem in front of the class. Nobody was interested in their work at all. They were just doing it to get it out of the way. Until the teacher decided to offer a dollar bill to anybody that volunteered to go in the first 5 people. And instantly, 4 people raised their hands because of that motivation. The teacher had offered them a reward or a bribe or an incentive to volunteer. Now, how can we fix this? Because I don't think this is beneficial to children. I think that they're only doing it for that extrinsic reward and not because they want to do it. Kids need to be challenged, and they need to feel like everything they learn will benefit them and that there's a purpose bigger than the grade. We need to be showing those kids those purposes, those applications to real life, like in math, how you show the word problems and how it applies to a real world situation. That's what we need to be showing our kids. I've recently constructed a personal business model involving the Rubik's Cube and how provoking that intrinsic motivation in children can be beneficial to their education. I call it Tutor Cubes. Tutor Cubes is an in-home tutoring service for children that provide them with a solution to think logically and enhance their problem-solving skills. Right here is a short little summary of what my business is all about. But basically, it tackles 5 main concepts: who I am, what I offer to my customers, who I offer it to, why do they care, and what are my core competencies. And like I said before, what I am trying to do is I'm trying to get kids intrinsically motivated. I want them to be excited. I want them to push themselves, not in just problem solving, but in every subject. I want them to see the light. I want them to see where it takes them and why it's important, why they're being taught in school, what the things they are being taught. And that's pretty much what I'm about and what I'm trying to accomplish with my business plan. And secondly, how does motivation apply to business? Uh, when given a problem to solve that requires outside of the box thinking, do you think incentive helps increase productivity? On the left here, you'll see the infamous candle problem presented to us by Professor Kamen. And basically what this problem is you're given a box of tacks, a candle, and some matches, and you're told to set up the candle in a way where the wax will not hit the table. Um, and on the outside, it may seem that incentive would help find an answer to this problem, but studies have shown that it's not exactly that easy. When you're provided with something like this that has an out-of-the-box solution, incentives can actually have a negative impact and cause people to take shortcuts that may not always work. And that's really bad when you're talking about a business model, because you want people to be productive and efficient in the business place. So when you're provided with something like this, it may not be as productive to provide an incentive to your workers. How can we encourage workers to be motivated at the workplace without an incentive? Workers need to be taught that the decisions they make for their company can really have a powerful effect on the outside world. When you can provoke the intrinsic motivation inside of a worker, you can achieve better results and more accurate solutions. In conclusion, motivation is a very complex subject, one that I personally enjoy studying, and it influences multiple areas in our life. Though sometimes more rewarding to us, incentives can actually harm our productivity, no matter how much we like that iPad or that crisp $20 bill. But when we can start to solve problems with intrinsic motivation, we can expect to see better results for ourselves and for other people. My name is Ryan Lindemann, and thank you for watching my TED Talk.